While all scientific theories are stipulative, some have enough evidence behind them to warrant heightened scrutiny of any evidence that appears to contradict them.
Sabur said that science should be revisable, which it is. And what he calls Darwinian evolution is no exception in that it too can be and has been revised, altered, corrected, improved, and updated. But he thinks that revisable means it can be completely overturned. Refuted seems to be the word that he's looking for. And that's just not the case. And if reading the definition isn't enough to prove that, we'll just look at the article. Here we see that the formal scientific definition of theory refers to a comprehensive explanation of some aspect of nature that is supported by a vast body of evidence, and that many scientific theories are so well established that no new evidence is likely to alter them substantially. Now, he mentions some that have been refuted. We're talking about well-established ones now. We're not talking about phlogiston. We're not talking about vitalism. There are a whole bunch of theories that have failed over time. But we're talking about the ones that have withstood more than a century of hard testing by the smartest people on the planet. Now, if I may quote, they say, no new evidence will demonstrate that the Earth does not orbit around the sun. That's heliocentric theory. Or that living things are not made of cells, cell theory, or that matter is not composed of atoms, which is atomic theory, or that the surface of the Earth is not divided into solid plates that have moved over geologic timescales, which is, of course, the theory of plate tectonics.
I suspect that there could, in principle, be new evidence that could overturn these theories, but it would have to be something as revolutionary as discovering that we're all in the Matrix or something. Short of a discovery that extreme, it's hard to see how these ideas could be refuted.
And this is where we have to explain what a fact is. Here are definitions from Merriam-Webster, one from Wikipedia, and one from the National Center for Science Education. Now, if Sabur does not like the caveat that the NCSE tacked on the end of theirs, that's fine. I don't like it either. But it disproves his point that facts are supposed to be absolute. They're not. But if you remove the word absolute, then he and I may agree that the truth is what the facts are, because the truth is identified or defined as what can be shown to be true or concordant with reality, and a fact is a point of data which is either not in dispute or is indisputable in that it is objectively verifiable. Whichever way you like it, whatever wording you prefer, a fact is information that can be confirmed correct.
I think it would be reasonable to regard any scientific theory as a fact insofar as it consistently and most parsimoniously explains what we observe. This is the pragmatic view of truth. By that standard, evolution is quite clearly a fact.
Now, referring to the National Academy of Science again, we read that in science, a fact typically refers to an observation, measurement, or other form of evidence that can be expected to occur the same way under similar circumstances. However, and this is important, because in the video that he was talking about before, he distinguished the mechanisms of evolution from the explanation of evolution. And it's the explanation that he called Darwinism, right? And he said that this is not a fact, because it has to be absolute, which of course it doesn't have to be absolute. And he says you can have the mechanism be a fact, but the theory cannot be a fact. But here, the term fact also refers to a scientific explanation that has been tested and confirmed so many times that there's no longer a compelling reason to keep testing or looking for additional examples, meaning that it has been sufficiently proven in the colloquial sense.
Even if it isn't proven by the standard of proof that a mathematician employs, it is proven for all other practical purposes.
Sabur hosts a YouTube channel called Darwinian Delusions. And the idea that he calls us Darwinists delusional may seem like an empty insult, but it is also a logical fallacy of psychological projection. He is projecting his own faults onto those who will not share them. The psychiatric definition of a delusion is a persistent false belief that is maintained despite indisputable evidence to the contrary. To falsely claim something when there is evidence otherwise. And it is a delusion because the beliefs remain fixed even when the facts are against them. There is no actual fact that contradicts evolution. But if there was, we would simply have to consider it and change our minds or adjust our perception accordingly. Because we just want to understand the way things really are and improve on that understanding. We don't have a commitment to preserve or defend the belief whether it's true or not, which Sabur does. And this is why he will continue to believe what he believes, even when all the facts are against it.
Like many apologists, Ahamad is trying to pass evangelism and proselytization off as debate.
Because creationist organizations post statements of faith as if this were something to be proud of, wherein they admit that they will never acknowledge any evidence against them. These are confessions that they have already rejected. And you'll notice these are all from leading creationist organizations. These are confessions that they have already rejected all the evidence there could ever be, such that no matter how wrong they are, no amount of proof will ever change their minds. Their beliefs are assumed without reason and defended against all reason. Not one scientific organization or institution would agree to anything so intellectually dishonest as this.
Ahamad is at least as bad as William Lane Craig, who says that one ought not prioritize evidence over the feeling of the presence of the Holy Spirit in your heart, and that reason must be placed in a ministerial role which serves one's faith, rather than a magisterial role which judges one's faith. This is an intellectually dishonest attitude. Thanks again to everybody helping me out on Patreon.